Stop wishing. Stop waiting. Stop hoping that life will somehow bend in your favor without your command. The world does not reward wishes, it rewards demands. And the greatest demands are not the ones you shout at others, but the ones you whisper, relentlessly, to yourself. Every man and woman who has ever risen from obscurity to greatness began at this same truth: nothing changes until you demand more of yourself than the world expects of you. Edison did not sit in the dark and wish for light, he demanded of himself that he would find it. Carnegie did not wish to escape poverty, he demanded of himself that he would master the laws of wealth. Lincoln did not wish for unity in a divided nation, he demanded of himself the courage to stand when others fled. The difference between a wish and a demand is the difference between a passing cloud and a thunderstorm. A wish drifts. A demand strikes. A wish fades. A demand leaves its mark. And if you are to awaken the greatness buried within you, you must stop asking life to be easier, and start demanding of yourself to become stronger. Look around you. The world is filled with men and women who wish for more money, more freedom, more recognition, more peace. But they wish like gamblers waiting on luck, not like warriors sharpening their swords. And so they remain the same, year after year, trapped in the same routines, circling the same cages, staring out the window of their own potential. Do you know what separates the wealthy from the poor, the fulfilled from the empty, the victorious from the forgotten? It is not chance, nor background, nor favor. It is demand. Demand of thought. Demand of effort. Demand of vision. They hold themselves to a standard the world cannot ignore. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this: a blacksmith forging steel and fire. The wishful man prays the metal will shape itself. The demanding man swings the hammer until sparks ignite the night. One ends with ash. The other ends with a blade that carves history. That blade is your life, your destiny, your future, and it will not be forged by wishing. You must see it clearly: wishing is passive. Demanding is active. Wishing whispers. Demanding roars. Wishing waits. Demanding pursues. And until you ignite this shift in your soul, you will continue to pray for opportunities instead of creating them, beg for wealth instead of building it, long for freedom instead of seizing it. The world will always offer you excuses, distractions, and easy outs. It will tell you to wait, to hope, to be patient. But look at those who shaped history. They did not wait for the perfect conditions. They created them. Henry Ford demanded of himself to make automobiles accessible to the masses when the world laughed at the impossibility. Walt Disney demanded of himself to transform imagination into reality when even his own team doubted him. Oprah Winfrey demanded of herself to rise from poverty, trauma, and rejection into influence and wealth beyond measure. So I ask you, what do you demand of yourself? Not what you wish for. Not what you daydream about when no one is watching. What do you demand? Because the answer to that question writes the script of your life. If you demand excellence, mediocrity cannot survive around you. If you demand discipline, laziness cannot hold its ground. If you demand growth, stagnation becomes unbearable. And if you demand greatness, the world eventually yields, for no force can resist a soul that refuses to compromise with weakness. Demand begins in the mind. Every empire begins with a single thought, magnified by relentless belief. You must hold in your imagination the image of the person you demand to become. See it vividly, until it consumes you. Speak it to yourself, until doubt shatters. Walk as though it already belongs to you, until the universe has no choice but to align with your conviction. This is no empty philosophy. It is the very law of success. Napoleon Hill once wrote that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief alone is not enough. Belief must be enforced with demand. Belief must be tested in the furnace of discipline. Belief must be translated into unbreakable daily action. You see, the world does not pay you for what you hope. It pays you for what you demand of yourself and what you deliver through that demand. You cannot wish yourself into wealth. You must demand the habits of wealth: clarity, courage, consistency. You cannot wish yourself into respect. You must demand of yourself the character that earns it. You cannot wish yourself into freedom, you must demand of yourself the discipline to build it. Ask yourself now, how many years have you wasted wishing? How many mornings have you rolled out of bed promising one day instead of demanding today? How many dreams have died in the graveyard of hesitation because you mistook a passing wish for a burning decision? The time for wishing has ended. The time for demanding has begun. And demanding is not a moment, it is a lifestyle. It is an iron standard you refuse to lower. It is the voice that says, no matter the obstacle, no matter the delay, I will not betray the future I have seen in my mind. Greatness is not inherited, it is demanded. Wealth is not granted, it is demanded. Freedom is not gifted, it is demanded. And until you embrace this truth, life will continue to give you crumbs when you could have had the banquet. So let today be the day you stop whispering wishes and start declaring demands. Demand more of your mind. Demand more of your effort. Demand more of your time. Demand more of your destiny. And when you demand it, live as though nothing less will satisfy you. For in the end, life gives to the man who demands, not the one who merely waits. The demand you place upon yourself must be rooted in belief. Not the fragile belief that crumbles when tested, but the unshakable conviction that becomes stronger under pressure. A man who demands of himself but does not believe in himself is like a soldier marching into battle with no weapon. He will be defeated before the fight even begins. Belief is the soil from which every harvest grows. Without it, nothing takes root. With it, even barren ground can yield abundance. Think of the Wright brothers, bicycle mechanics with no wealth, no backing, no credentials. The world laughed at the idea of man taking flight. But belief turned mockery into momentum. They demanded of themselves to defy gravity, and because they believed, they persisted where others quit. That belief lifted humanity into the skies. Now look at yourself. How many dreams have you buried because you doubted? How many times have you let the opinions of others weigh more than the voice within? Do you not see? The moment you choose to believe in the image of your highest self, you unlock a power the world cannot measure. Belief alone, however, is only the spark. To sustain the fire, you must discipline yourself to act in alignment with that belief. Discipline is the bridge between imagination and reality. It is the quiet decision repeated every morning, every hour, every moment, to do what must be done whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the reason Thomas Edison kept testing filament after filament, enduring 10,000 failures until one light bulb banished darkness. Discipline is the reason Abraham Lincoln kept returning after defeat, after business collapse, after failed elections, after personal tragedy, until he became the president who preserved the Union. Discipline is the reason athletes rise before dawn, the reason leaders read when others sleep, the reason the great are remembered while the mediocre fade. And here is the truth no one tells you: discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. The man enslaved by laziness, by distraction, by vice, is not free. But the man who disciplines his mind and body is free to command his destiny. So ask yourself, are you a master of yourself, or a servant of your impulses? Do you rise when the alarm rings, or do you negotiate with weakness? Do you focus when it is time to work, or do you wander into the seductions of distraction? Your life answers these questions whether you admit it or not. And the results of your life, your wealth, your health, your legacy are the reflection of those answers. But discipline without clarity is wasted effort. You cannot demand everything at once. You must choose. You must fix your gaze on a definite chief aim, as Napoleon Hill taught, and pursue it with all the intensity of a hunter locked on his prey. Without clarity, you are like a ship with no compass, busy sailing, but destined to circle the ocean endlessly. Clarity gives power. Clarity is the lens that turns scattered rays of light into a laser that cuts through steel. When Andrew Carnegie was asked his secret to building one of the greatest fortunes in history, he said, "I can keep my mind focused on something for 5 minutes at a stretch." Most people cannot focus for 5 minutes. Their attention scatters. Their whole weakens. And so their lives scatter as well. Do not be like them. Define exactly what you demand of life. Write it down. See it. Feel it. Imprint it on your soul. Then organize your days around it. Everything else is noise. Every hour wasted is theft from your future. Every distraction is an enemy dressed as a friend. If you are not clear, you are already lost. Clarity births vision. Vision gives you the ability to see beyond the immediate struggle into the destiny ahead. Vision is what allowed Walt Disney to see an empire of imagination when all he had was a sketch pad and rejection letters. Vision is what allowed Martin Luther King Jr. to stand before a hostile world and declare, "I have a dream," when others only saw barriers. Vision is what allows you to endure the nights of sacrifice, because you already see the dawn of triumph. And here lies a secret: vision is not daydreaming, it is a demand of the soul. It is a contract you sign with yourself, sealed not in ink, but in blood, sweat, and persistence. When you carry a vision so strong that it burns in your heart, you can no longer accept mediocrity. You cannot rest until it is real. You begin to move differently, think differently, speak differently, because the vision has consumed you. But understand, this vision without purpose is fragile. Purpose is the foundation beneath your demand. Purpose is the reason you rise when the body aches, the reason you press on when the results are slow, the reason you sacrifice comfort for legacy. Without purpose, success is shallow. With purpose, success becomes inevitable. Consider Nelson Mandela. For 27 years he sat in a prison cell. If his vision had been for wealth or fame, he would have surrendered to despair. But his purpose was freedom for his people. That purpose made steel of his soul. And when the gates opened, he emerged not broken, but unshakable. Your purpose may not be to lead a nation, but it must be strong enough to lead you out of weakness. It must be personal. It must matter. Because when you know your why, you can endure anyhow. And once your purpose is clear, once your vision is burning, once your discipline is steady, then you begin to demand action, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Action is the test of every dream. Action is where wishes die and demands are proven. Do not wait for motivation to act. Motivation is fleeting. Action births motivation, not the other way around. The moment you act, even in small steps, momentum awakens. And momentum is the ally of demand. A rolling stone gathers speed. A moving ship adjusts its course. Action is life itself. So stop telling yourself you will begin when the timing is right. The timing is never right. Begin now. Take the first step while your hands still tremble. Speak the first word while your voice still shakes. For once you begin, the path unfolds. The universe does not respond to hesitation, it responds to boldness. Demand of yourself to act daily. To move forward no matter how small the step. To stack bricks until the wall is built. To write pages until the book is complete. To make calls until the business thrives. To persist until success bends to your will. Because this is the law, you will not always feel ready, but you must always demand action. Life will test you. Do not be deceived into thinking that demand alone clears the path. The moment you declare what you will no longer accept, the world rises against you, as if to ask, do you mean it? The storm comes not to destroy you, but to prove you. And only those who endure the storm earn the strength to carry the crown. Resilience is not simply surviving difficulty, it is transforming difficulty into fuel. The oak tree grows roots deep into the earth not in spite of the wind, but because of it. The pressure of resistance strengthens its foundation. Without resistance, it would topple at the first storm. And so it is with you. Every setback is not punishment, it is preparation. Every trial is not the end, it is initiation. Think of Henry Ford. Before the Model T rolled onto dusty roads, Ford faced bankruptcy 5 times. 5 times, he tasted failure. But each collapse carved into him the lessons he needed. Each obstacle refined his vision, toughened his resolve, and forced him to innovate until the system of mass production was born. Without those failures, there would be no Ford Motor Company, no revolution in industry. Resilience is your ability to absorb defeat without accepting it. To be struck down, but never stay down. To adapt when the old way fails, and demand of yourself a new way forward. Most people quit at the first blow. They see failure as a verdict. The successful see it as a teacher. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But you must search for the seed. It does not announce itself. It hides in the ashes of disappointment, in the rubble of plans that collapsed. If you do not demand of yourself to look deeper, you will miss the gift." Do not forget, Thomas Edison's 10,000 failures were not wasted years. Each one was a seed of knowledge, guiding him closer to success. Abraham Lincoln's political defeats were not signs to quit, but lessons that sharpened his strategy. Walt Disney's bankruptcies and rejections were not curses, but the chisels that carved his vision into something unbreakable. Resilience is born when you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this shaping me to become?" For the mountain is not placed in your path to block you, but to show you that you were meant to climb. Adaptability is the twin of resilience. If resilience is your strength to endure, adaptability is your wisdom to adjust. A rigid tree breaks in the storm, but a reed that bends survives. The world is not static. The demands of yesterday are not the demands of today. If you cling stubbornly to old ways, you will be swept aside. But if you demand of yourself to learn, to evolve, to remain a student even as you grow into a master, then you cannot be stopped. History proves this. The companies that died did not adapt. The leaders who fell did not learn. Kodak invented the digital camera but clung to film until irrelevance devoured them. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix's model until it vanished from the earth. Adaptability is not optional, it is survival. You must demand of yourself the humility to learn, to change course, to sharpen your tools as the battlefield shifts. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is wealth. And learning must never end. The moment you stop learning, you start dying. The moment you stop adapting, you start declining. Be like water. Flow around obstacles, carve through stone, fill any space you enter, yet remain unstoppable. This is adaptability. It is not weakness, it is strategy. The lion does not hunt the same way in the savannah as in the jungle, but he always hunts. The demand is the same, the method changes. So too with your life. Do not cling to methods. Cling to the mission. And yet, even as you adapt, you must carry gratitude. Gratitude is the fireproof shield of the demanding man. Without it, demand turns into bitterness. With it, demand transforms into power. Gratitude is not passive thankfulness, it is the ability to see abundance even when others see lack, to draw strength from small victories, to remind yourself that you are already walking in privilege compared to countless souls who never had your chance. Think of Helen Keller. Born deaf and blind, she could have cursed fate. But through gratitude and relentless demand, she learned to speak, to write, to inspire millions. Gratitude did not erase her limitations, it made her unshakable despite them. Gratitude does not mean settling. It means demanding of yourself to recognize every step forward, no matter how small, and to transform it into fuel for the next climb. Gratitude and demand are not enemies, they are allies. Gratitude anchors you in the present, demand pulls you into the future. Together they create the balance of fulfillment and ambition. But let me remind you of a truth often forgotten: the world will resist your demand. People will tell you that you are asking too much of yourself, that you should settle, that you should be satisfied with good enough. They will label your demand as arrogance, your vision as delusion, your discipline as obsession. Do not be moved. The opinions of the crowd have never built monuments. The criticisms of the average have never shaped history. The greatest tragedy is not that people aim too high and miss, but that they aim too low and hit. Mediocrity is the silent killer of potential. And it thrives because people would rather wish than demand. You must make a covenant with yourself that you will not lower your standards to fit into the comfort zones of others. Demand excellence even when the world applauds average. Demand growth even when others are content to stagnate. Demand greatness even if it means walking alone for a season. For eventually, the world will follow the man who refused to follow it. Resilience. Adaptability. Gratitude. These are not luxuries. They are the armor of the demanding soul. With them, you cannot be defeated, only delayed. With them, every setback becomes a setup for a comeback. With them, you no longer fear the storm, because you have become the storm. And so the demand continues, not just to dream, not just to act, but to persist, to evolve, to remain unbreakable until destiny yields. The greatest demand you will ever place upon yourself is self-mastery. Conquering the outer world is meaningless if the inner world remains enslaved. Wealth without mastery becomes corruption. Power without mastery becomes tyranny. Success without mastery collapses under its own weight. Self-mastery is the art of ruling yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your impulses, your habits. It is the throne upon which true greatness sits. And it is the battle most men never win, for they wage war only against circumstances, not against themselves. Look at the lives of the mighty who fell emperors, kings, titans of industry. They conquered nations but could not conquer their appetites. They built empires but could not master their pride. And so they lost everything, not because the world defeated them, but because they never demanded mastery within. Napoleon Hill wrote of the mastermind, the alliance of minds united in pursuit of purpose. But before you form a mastermind with others, you must form one with yourself. You must unite the scattered voices within desire, discipline, vision, willpower into a single army marching toward one aim. Without this unity, you remain divided, and a house divided against itself cannot stand. Self-mastery begins with the mind. Your thoughts are architects, forever building the mansion of your future. Every repeated thought lays another brick. What are you building? A palace of power, or a prison of doubt? The man who allows fear, envy, and laziness to rent space in his mind will soon find himself evicted from his own destiny. But the man who demands of himself to guard his thoughts as a king guards his gates will find riches flowing in, for he has chosen wisely what enters. You cannot control the winds of circumstance, but you can control the sails of thought. And a single controlled thought, directed with purpose, is stronger than 1,000 uncontrolled wishes. But the mind is only one battlefield. The body is another. Self-mastery demands that you train your body to obey your vision. If your body rules you, fatigue, temptation, and indulgence will chain you. If you rule your body, it becomes the servant of destiny. This is why discipline in health, in energy, in vitality is not optional, it is essential. A dull sword cannot win wars. A neglected body cannot carry a great mission. And yet, beyond mind and body lies the heart, the realm of emotion. Here lies the most deceptive battlefield. How many destinies have been lost to uncontrolled anger? How many futures drowned in despair, fear, or jealousy? If you cannot master your emotions, they will master you. The demanding man does not deny emotion, but directs it. Anger becomes fuel for action. Fear becomes a signal to prepare. Pain becomes the sculptor of endurance. Emotion, once mastered, becomes an army under your command. And the final battlefield is the spirit, the deep sense of meaning that binds mind, body, and heart together. Spirit is what keeps you moving when strength fails, what whispers one more step when the body screams to stop, what gives you courage to walk through shadows because you know there is light on the other side. Self-mastery is incomplete without spirit, for spirit is the root of purpose. But make no mistake, self-mastery is not one in a day. It is not a single decision. It is a war of countless battles fought every sunrise. The battle between comfort and growth, between excuses and execution, between fear and faith, between who you are and who you demand to become. Every morning you wake, the inner battle begins anew. Your weaker self whispers for rest, for ease, for delay. Your stronger self demands effort, discipline, focus. Which voice do you obey? That choice, repeated daily, writes the story of your life. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet he knew the true empire to rule was within. Will you demand the same of yourself? Because here lies the truth, if you win the inner battle, the outer world cannot defeat you. If you lose the inner battle, the outer world does not even need to fight. Self-mastery is victory before the war begins. But self-mastery requires sacrifice. You must sacrifice the old self to birth the new. You must kill laziness to crown discipline. You must burn hesitation to ignite action. You must surrender comfort to inherit greatness. There is no other way. Consider the caterpillar. It must surrender the comfort of crawling to enter the cocoon of struggle. Inside, it dissolves, it dies to its former self. Only then does it emerge as a butterfly, transformed and free. So too with you. Transformation is not an upgrade, it is a death and a rebirth. You cannot demand greatness while clinging to weakness. Something must die within you for something greater to rise. Most people fear this death. They cling to their excuses, their habits, their identities. They would rather remain caterpillars crawling safely in mediocrity than endure the pain of becoming something greater. But not you. You are here because something inside you already knows. The cocoon is waiting. The demand is calling. The transformation is inevitable if you will not resist it. Demand of yourself the courage to shed your old skin. Demand of yourself the strength to leave behind the comfort of the familiar. Demand of yourself the patience to endure the dark cocoon of struggle, knowing it is the very place where wings are formed. And when you emerge, you will not be the same. You will not walk, you will soar. You will not beg, you will command. You will not wish, you will demand. Remember this, the highest form of wealth is not money, though money flows to those who master themselves. The highest form of success is not fame, though recognition often follows. The highest form of achievement is mastery of self. For when you rule yourself, you are free. And a free man, demanding of himself, cannot be stopped. So I ask you again, what will you demand of yourself? To remain as you are? Or to rise into who you were always meant to be? The inner battle is raging. Choose your side wisely. Destiny does not come to those who wait. Destiny bows to those who demand. Every life is a story, and most stories are never told because they end in hesitation, in compromise, in mediocrity. But your life does not have to be one of them. Within you lies a seed of greatness planted at birth. That seed does not care about your past, your failures, or your doubts. It only asks one thing: will you demand of yourself to nurture it? Will you water it with discipline, expose it to the light of vision, shield it with resilience, and let it grow into the towering tree it was destined to become? Destiny is not an accident. It is not a gift handed to the chosen few. It is the natural consequence of demanding alignment between your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, and your purpose. When every fiber of your being marches in the same direction, life has no choice but to open doors where walls once stood. But destiny is bigger than comfort, bigger than pleasure, bigger than you. The men and women who shaped history did not live for themselves alone. Carnegie did not just build wealth, he demanded of himself to build libraries, to spread knowledge, to leave a legacy that would outlive him. Edison did not just invent, he demanded of himself to light the world. Martin Luther King Jr. did not just speak, he demanded of himself to become the voice of a generation longing for justice. And here is the truth: you, too, are writing a legacy. Every action you take, every choice you make, every demand or lack of demand echoes into the future. What will your children inherit, not just in money, but in mindset? What will your name call to mind when spoken generations from now? Will they say, he wished, but never demanded? Or will they say, he rose, he conquered himself, and because he demanded greatness, we now live better lives? Legacy is not built in one act of glory. It is built in the daily demand for excellence. Brick by brick. Step by step. Small victories that compound into mountains of influence. Do not mistake this for arrogance. Demanding of yourself is not selfish, it is service. The world does not need more wishers. It needs more men and women willing to demand of themselves the strength, the discipline, the clarity to lead. The world is starving for examples of resilience, for proof that greatness is possible, for a light in the fog of mediocrity. And if you do not rise, who will? If you do not demand of yourself to lead your life, then your life will be led by others, by circumstance, by fear, by the small-minded opinions of the crowd. But if you demand of yourself to lead, you give permission for others to follow, to rise, to demand more of themselves as well. One life lived at the highest standard can ignite thousands more. Think of Gandhi. One man, slight in frame, unarmed, clothed in simplicity. Yet he demanded of himself unbreakable discipline, demanded of himself peace when others chose violence, demanded of himself sacrifice when others chose comfort. That demand toppled empires without firing a shot. That is the power of a single soul who refuses to wish and instead demands. So what excuses remain? What hesitation still chains you? Do you not see that every second you delay is a second stolen from your destiny? Time is the one currency you cannot earn back. The years you waste in wishing are years you could have spent in building, in demanding, in becoming. Imagine yourself years from now, standing at the edge of your life, looking back. Will you be haunted by the ghost of who you could have been? Will you see the unwritten books, the unbuilt businesses, the unlived adventures, the legacy you could have left but abandoned because you only wished? Or will you stand in the presence of your fulfilled demand, knowing you squeezed every drop from the time given to you, that you left nothing undone, that you lived fully, boldly, completely? That day is coming. And the choice that determines it is made not in the future, but now. This moment. This very breath. Will you demand of yourself the courage to rise? You must become relentless. Relentless in pursuit of the standard you have set. Relentless in rejecting mediocrity. Relentless in demanding more when others are satisfied with less. Relentless in the face of delay, of rejection, of defeat. Relentless until destiny yields. For life bends to the relentless. The mountain yields to the climber who refuses to stop. The market yields to the innovator who refuses to quit. The world yields to the dreamer who refuses to compromise. Relentlessness is the final proof of demand. And as you live relentlessly, something miraculous happens. The man who once wished begins to vanish. The man who demanded begins to emerge. You no longer ask for opportunities, they appear. You no longer wait for permission, you create. You no longer hope for success, you embody it. This is the transformation. This is the rebirth. This is the fire that turns dust into steel, weakness into strength, wishes into wealth, fear into faith, man into master. And when you walk this path, you discover something extraordinary. The world was never against you. It was only waiting for you to demand.